Hey, Dr. Rowe, hope you're well. Check this out. The house is, can you see the roof? Some of you have been asking to have a look. That's the light coming through. A triangular window that was not meant to be there originally, but actually it's a beautiful part of the roof now. If you can see, they've been finishing off the shiplap here, and it's coming together really well actually. Right, I just want to do a quick message to you. This is more of an emotional, personal development subject, which obviously is one of my biggest passions. And I had a great conversation with somebody this week about that actually, but that's a conversation I might bring into this space just to talk about the crossover between mindset and success, mindset and property, mindset and wealth. In the meantime, I've just finished a podcast recording for the Growth Tribes. Go to www.growthtribes.com/podcasts and have a look. Harminder has been off the grid a bit because he's just had a baby, and we just managed to record our next podcast. And it was on the subject of three things: your dietary habits, your vitality, and your sleep. And he really actually kind of drilled quite a few deep questions at me, because these are three things I've been talking about now for a long time. In fact, I pulled up a document for him to show him that we had, the last time I ran a very intensive health event was nearly 5.5, 6 years ago. And I showed him the subject matter and he was like, holy shit, you've been talking like about sleep for all these years. You've been talking about this for all these years. Let's just pull this out, extract this and share this with people. So there's content there that may end up being in a book. But look, we talked about diet and he said, what are your general philosophies? And I explained, and we'll talk about this in the podcast 90 minutes. It should be released end of the week, early next, maybe the weekend. So look out for it. But the nuts and bolts was, and if you're watching this, it's a really strong consideration, is what your he asked me, what's your definition of health? And I said, look, to me, health is vitality. If you can wake up in the morning and throughout the day maintain a certain level of vitality, and that really for me is clarity, purpose, engagement, feeling physically, spiritually, emotionally vital, then what that does, it creates a flow in your life. And it's different to energy. And you'll hear me talk about this in the podcast. Being energetic is different to being vital as far as I'm concerned. So we talked about food, and he said, a lot of people say that they are eating healthy. I said, well, the thing is, right, for example, the big vegan shifts that have happened in recent years, and I've been talking about vegetarianism and not eating meat and not eating dairy and stuff like that for a long, long time. I've got dear friends like people like Karen Ridges that's been around this field for a long time. But there's been a big movement in the last 12 months, as we know. But you can be a vegan and still be extremely unhealthy. I mean, you could eat, rice, pasta, drink soda drinks, all non-dairy, and still be unhealthy. So don't attach being vegan, being vegetarian, or skipping certain things to be healthy. It's a combination of all these things. So on that note, what we talked about was food and fuel. What's the difference between nutrition and fuel? People eat stuff, but is it nutritional or is it just purely fuel? And I explained about that. We talked about the food pyramid. And again, if you're not sure what that means, is there is a specific structure of diet. And it's not like you have to follow a regimented approach, but if you have a general approach to it, bottom of the pyramid, for example, is lots of leafy greens and stuff like that, all the way to the top of the pyramid. It makes a massive difference to how you feel and how your energy feels. So we really drilled into that. And this is a 90-minute podcast just talking about three areas of health. So then we switched on to sleep, again, a big subject. And he goes, look at this, you've got a whole thing here on melatonin and the curve that happens during the middle of the night between like 1 and 4, and the circadian rhythm, and how your performance in your business. If you're in sales, by the way, if you're somebody that sells products or services or goes out in front of the public or does anything in business where you have to talk about and promote yourself, if you're not sleeping properly, your business is going to suffer. I mean, I've physically witnessed this with people, and I've seen it myself. I can measure now my vitality based on my sleep performance. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Aura Ring, which my good friend Yvonne suggested I get about a year ago now, and I didn't get it till, actually it's coming up to a year. Fantastic, another tool, but we're going to see if we can get the founder of that onto our podcast. So for example, if you're averaging 6 hours of sleep a night on an average basis, you're actually depleting yourself. You're going to underperform. You're potentially going to reduce your immune system. You've got the potential. I mean, science, now again, go look into this yourself, but the science is showing Alzheimer's, short-term memory issues because you're not able to upload your short-term memory to your long-term hard drive, which is generally this happens during the night. There's a certain process that happens, and power naps, that type of thing, the importance of them. So simply, we talked about the 5 a day. I have these recipes, 260 ingredients, 52 weeks a year. Great, and it covers a lot of these aspects. And if you go to Growth Tribes, actually, you'll see we make people have access to that if they want it. So when it comes to sleep, the easiest thing for us to do, we've got lights around us, stick the lights on, work frigging late, work through the night. Fuck it, I'll sleep when I'm dead. That's an old 80s and 90s philosophy that I grew up with. Actually, you're going to die because you don't sleep. So start to look into this, and we talk a little bit about a couple of reference books, and Harminder quotes some details in there that he's sort of pulled up from his own research as well. So again, I think sleep is a major factor. So my question is, how's the balance of your diet? Are you genuinely getting the right fluids? Are you genuinely getting the right balance of food into your diet? Are you fast crashing food down just to get it done and dusted? Or are you having a balance? Are you preparing your food? Are you living vitally? Are you feeling engaged? We have got COVID-2 coming, or part 2, or round 2, whatever you want to call it. And I think I mentioned this 2 months ago after a conversation with a friend of mine in Harley Street. She said, mark my words, October, November, it's going to be a round 2. It's going to be tough. And it will be tough. I mean, what's going to happen to people going into a winter with COVID? If we have another lockdown, depression rates are up already, obesity rates are up, kids are feeling down, people's emotional state is imbalanced, their financial state is imbalanced. We've got the government situation. If we go to another lockdown and people can't open, can't operate and work, that's going to have a massive impact on people's mental health and their physical health. And if we don't start to get the right patterns in place now and start to eat and look after ourselves now properly when times are tough, often we revert to a shitty style of eating and looking after ourselves. So 1, diet and fluids. Again, go listen to the podcast. Number 2, sleep. Third one is vitality. And I gave an approach to monitoring your vitality, a way of measuring your vitality based on 2 or 3 key indicators that I like to use. I'm not going to go into that now because that was obviously part of the podcast, but there is a way to do it. And if you're sort of like, what do you mean by that? A couple of things I look for when it comes to vitality. Number 1, your clarity in the way you think, the way you feel, the way you engage every single moment. If, like I'm talking to you now, you feel in that state on a consistent and regular basis, for me, that's how I am as a human being. And I look to try and maximize that. Not that I'm always vital. I actually started off today feeling pretty shitty, actually. And that was because I worked very late last night. I didn't get a good night's sleep, meaning I got 6 hours. I can tell you, I've got my ring, but 6 hours sleep. I had a 91% efficiency of sleep, which is good. Unfortunately, two nights in a row with 5.5 to 6 hours sleep and getting up early for the builders here, that had a knock-on effect. So my readiness was only 61%, 62%, which means you're not going to perform as well as you should do. Now, everyone's percentage is different. Harminder was joking and saying Rose 60% is like most people's 120%. And that may be the case, but that's because I've chosen to live at that level of intensity and engagement over the years and look after myself. But trust me, I felt rough this morning, and that's a self-reflection, and it's okay to do that. But there is a way to monitor this and check in on your vitality. If you can do it for 2 to 3 weeks, there are certain things you can do now to start to improve and tweak and engage your vitality, because it is something you can engage and bring into the fore of what you do. Hopefully this is making sense, and I know it's not a very technical presentation or talk or share or live with you, but it's really meaningful for me because I think there are 3 things that we overlook. And if you abuse your diet, your sleep and your vitality over this next couple of months, you're going to age quicker, your memory is going to be poorer, your immune system is going to lower, and we can't afford to do that going into October and November of this year. We are going to see a surge. I'm convinced we're going to see another surge in COVID levels, and people's immune systems typically lower in the winter. It's going to be worse if you're really not looking after yourself. So this is kind of a personal share to say, hi Sanj, thank you for that feedback as well. I think if we don't start to prepare ourselves physically on an immune level and emotionally going into October, November, this is going to be a fucking tough winter, one of our toughest in a decade. And I'm not trying to scare people. I just want you to be prepared. I'm going to be hanging in there and trying to give you as much support through my lives, but I'm already talking to people to say, get ready, buckle down, because imagine what's going to happen if restaurants close, schools close again, companies close down, transport closes down, and there's a rush on the supermarkets, and it's winter and it's cold, your kids can't get out, you start eating more food, less live food, relying on processed and sugary drinks and shit like that, your immune system drops, you don't sleep enough because you've got anxiety, everything's going to go in the opposite direction. So we can work on that. We can really do some good stuff, but it has to start now. I really hope if you're plugging into Grow Tribes, or you send your friends to it, go and get them to listen to this. And I have got a couple of video series on this. If you're a Growth Tribe supporter, which you may already be, one of the support levels allows you to get videos, and I have a whole video series on exactly this. So, if you want to go get your friends to learn about this, go and, it's a tiny amount of money for what you're going to get. Go and have a look at that. But in the meantime, look out, and if there's anything new that comes to mind, or if I can get a couple of really powerful guests on our Grow Tribes, I'm trying to get my friend from Harley Street to come on. She used to be on TV. She's got some great stuff to share. So keep in mind that. And also I'm looking to get a specialist who works with nutrition and immune system supplements to get him on our Grow Tribes as well, because I just want to pack as much in over these coming months so we're all prepared. All right, folks, take care. Have a great evening.